College football's bowl season is underway, and with 41 matchups, there are plenty of must-see games. So let's dive into the top 10 bowl matchups and the reasons why we should tune in this season. I'm Steven Lassen of All CFB 365. Please be sure to subscribe and also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at All CFB 365. If you like offense, our number 10 matchup should bring it in the Holiday Bowl. Oregon and North Carolina, both ranked in the top 25 of scoring offense this season. It's a great battle of two standout quarterbacks in North Carolina's Drake May and Oregon's Bo Nix. Both of these quarterbacks will be among the top quarterbacks returning in college football next season. North Carolina will not have standout receiver Josh Downs. Oregon also going to be a little bit shorthanded on defense. So if you like offense, the Holiday Bowl has a track record of producing high-scoring games. There's a good chance Drake May versus Bo Nix, North Carolina, and Oregon lives up to that on December 28th. A pair of 8-4 teams are set to meet in the Gator Bowl as Notre Dame takes on South Carolina. South Carolina was one of the hottest teams at the end of the regular season by beating Tennessee and beating Clemson on the road. This South Carolina team will be a little bit shorthanded. They won't have running back Marshawn Lloyd. They won't have tight end Jaheim Bell. However, quarterback Spencer Rattler is playing in this game, and he's taking on a good Notre Dame defense, giving up less than 22 points a game. On the other side, there's question marks about Notre Dame's quarterback situation. Drew Pine transferred to Arizona State. It's likely that Tyler Buckner, who was the starter at the beginning of the season, is back for this game. So there's a lot of mystery and a lot of intrigue about these two rosters, but still a solid matchup between 8-4 teams and a good Notre Dame defense taking on Spencer Rattler should be a must-see matchup on December 30th. At number 8, we've got a great matchup of offense versus defense when Illinois takes on Mississippi State in the Reliant Bowl. This is also the first game for Mississippi State since the tragic passing of head coach Mike Leach. Defensive coordinator Zach Arnett has been promoted to the full-time role. This is his first game as the program's head coach. This Mississippi State passing attack, we've seen it all year under quarterback Will Rogers, but they are taking on a great Illinois defense. They've allowed only 8 passing touchdowns this season. The Fighting Illini won't have defensive coordinator Ryan Walters. He left to be the head coach at Purdue, and they will also be without 2 standout defensive backs. So the matchup is a little bit more favorable for Mississippi State than we thought a few weeks ago due to the opt-outs in Illinois secondary. But still, the Fighting Illini defense was one of the better groups in the country, and they get a chance to take on Will Rogers in a high-powered Mississippi State passing game on January 2nd. The number 7 must-see matchup of bowl season is the Alamo Bowl. Washington was one of the hottest teams at the end of the regular season, beating rival Washington State. They also beat Oregon earlier in November. On the other side, Texas finished 8-4, which is a good step forward under second-year coach Steve Sarkisian. So to get to 9-4 and head into offseason with momentum would be a big deal for this program. Washington averages about 40 points a game. Texas holds teams to about 21. It's a great matchup of Washington's high-powered offense against a good Texas defense. The Longhorns need a big game from quarterback Quinn Ewers. He was inconsistent in November. Also, Arch Manning is set to hit campus this spring. He will not have running back Bijan Robinson. He opted out to prepare for the NFL draft. Washington's defense gave up about 29 points a game in Pac-12 play this season, so Quinn Ewers could end the season on a high note in what could be a high-scoring game between Washington and Texas. In the Alamo Bowl, the Big 12 is 4-1 in its last 5 Alamo Bowls against the Pac-12. If Tennessee and Clemson are going to play in a bowl game, it's appropriate it takes place in the Orange Bowl. It's number 6 on our list of must-see matchups this bowl season. It's a big deal for Tennessee to go to the Orange Bowl. It's the first time they've been in this bowl game since 1998. Clemson missed the college football playoff for the second year in a row, but still finished 11-2. And there's intrigue in this bowl game as quarterback Cade Klubnik officially takes the offensive reins after a standout performance in the ACC championship game. Clemson's defense will be missing a couple pieces, which could be good news for Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton, who is making his second start this year after Hendon Hooker suffered a season-ending injury in the loss to South Carolina. He won't have Cedric Tillman and he won't have Jalen Hyatt, so there will be some new weapons around quarterback Joe Milton in what's an important game with spring practice coming up as he looks to get entrenched as the number 1 quarterback. Big 12 champion Kansas State takes on Alabama in the Big Easy on December 31st for our number 5 must-see matchup. It's the Sugar Bowl. This game got a lot more intriguing when Bryce Young and Will Anderson of Alabama opted into the bowl game as Alabama tries to finish off a disappointing season on a high note. On the other side, you have Kansas State picking up the big victory over TCU in the Big 12 championship, so they will be motivated for a shot at Alabama. Kansas State's line of scrimmage has been a strength this year. Be interesting to see how Bryce Young and that Alabama offensive line and passing game operate against this defense. And on the other side of things, K-State running back Deuce Vaughn, arguably one of the most exciting players in college football, taking on a standout Alabama defense. There's a lot of intrigue and interesting matchups for this game on December 31st. Two of the most improved teams in college football will square off on January 2nd in the Cotton Bowl as USC takes on Tulane. Tulane, one of the best stories of the season, getting to the American Athletic Conference Championship game and beating UCF to get to the Cotton Bowl. Coach Willie Fritz deserves National Coach of the Year consideration, and Tulane has a chance to win this game. This offense, led by quarterback Michael Pratt and Tajay Spears, will test a USC defense that the last time we saw was torched by Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. On the other side of things, quarterback Caleb Williams, the Heisman Trophy winner, was banged up in the Pac-12 championship game. He's on track to start, but we'll have to see how his hamstring injury is closer to game time. USC will be down 2 offensive line starters, and they won't have receiver Jordan Addison. This one could be fun, and it could be high scoring. We also have the Heisman Trophy winner and a Tulane team that should be motivated to beat a Power 5 team in the Cotton Bowl. As always, the Rose Bowl is one of the must-see matchups of bowl season, and once again, it's got a great matchup as Utah takes on Penn State. Utah won the Pac-12 championship over USC, and they're out for revenge because they lost a close game last year to Ohio State, so to win the Rose Bowl and bring the trophy back to Salt Lake City would be a big deal for Coach Kyle Whittingham. The Utes are a little bit shorthanded. They won't have standout tight end Dalton Kincaid or cornerback Clark Phillips. There are some intriguing matchups in this game. You have a Penn State rushing attack led by 2 freshman running backs taking on a Utah defense that finished number 1 in the Pac-12 against the run. You also have Utah quarterback Cam Rising coming off a big performance against USC. He's taking on a Penn State defense holding teams to just 4.6 yards per play. As always, the scenery, the games in the Rose Bowl are awesome, so January 2nd should be another must-see matchup in Pasadena. We've reached the top 2 of our must-see bowl matchups, so it's no surprise we're going to the college football playoff for the last 2. We'll start with the Fiesta Bowl at number 2. It's undefeated Michigan taking on TCU at 12-1. In terms of matchups, this TCU offense averaged 40.3 points a game this season. Michigan allowed only 13 points a game. You have a standout high-powered TCU offense going against a standout Michigan defense. On the other side of things, can Michigan get that ground game going? We saw Donovan Edwards and quarterback J.J. McCarthy hit on big plays against Purdue and Ohio State. So we'll see if Michigan's offense picks up where it left off. This TCU team needs to find a way to slow down Donovan Edwards on the ground to have a chance to pull off an upset and play for the national championship. Our number one matchup is the second playoff game. It's the Peach Bowl between Georgia and Ohio State. You could argue two of the most talented rosters, top to bottom, in college football. A lot of individual talent squaring off on December 31st when this game kicks off in Atlanta. Georgia is just 2 wins away from a repeat as national champion. On the other side of things, Ohio State should be hungry after losing to Michigan, getting that second chance and a chance to get back to the national championship game if they can win this game. In terms of matchups, a lot of must-see potential on the field. You have Ohio State's high-powered offense led by quarterback CJ Stroud, receivers Marvin Harrison Jr., and others against a great Georgia defense led by defensive lineman Jalen Carter. Plenty of standouts in the secondary for the Bulldogs as well. So it will be fascinating to see if Ohio State's passing game can hit some big plays against Georgia's secondary. And when Georgia has the ball, can Ohio State avoid the big plays that plague this defense against Michigan? Georgia's offense is good at hitting the chunk plays 10 and 20 yards down the field. The Buckeyes will have to find a way to slow down quarterback Stetson Bennett. They'll find a way to slow down a good Georgia ground game and also tight end Brock Bowers. Considering the individual talent, the matchups, and what's at stake, this should easily be the must-see matchup of bowl season. That's our list of the top 10 must-see matchups of bowl season. There's plenty of great games with 41 bowl games starting in December and going all the way to January 2nd. I'm Steven Lassen of All CFB 365. Please be sure to subscribe and also check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at All CFB 365.